You are 3 years old. You are sitting on a kitchen floor. The tiles are cold. Someone is laughing above you. There is a smell you cannot name. You do not remember this. You will never remember this. And the reason why is one of the strangest discoveries in the entire history of neuroscience. Most people assume they cannot remember being born because it was too long ago. Like trying to remember what you had for lunch 4 years ago on a random Tuesday. That is not what is happening. The reason is far stranger than that, and it has nothing to do with how long ago it was. In 1893, a psychologist named Victor Henry noticed something that no one had paid serious attention to before. He surveyed hundreds of adults and asked them a simple question. What is your earliest memory? The answers were almost identical across every person he asked. Almost no one could remember anything before the age of 3. A few remembered fragments from age 2.5. Almost nothing before that. He called this infantile amnesia. But here is what he could not explain. A 3-year-old child is not stupid. They are learning. They are feeling. They are experiencing the world with full emotional intensity. They know when they are hungry. They know when they are scared. They know when someone they love walks into a room. They are fully conscious. And yet none of it survives. For decades, the assumption was simple. The brain of a baby is too underdeveloped to form memories. The hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for storing long-term memories, is not fully formed yet, so nothing gets recorded. Clean explanation. Comfortable. Wrong. Because here is what scientists discovered when they actually tested it. Babies remember things. In 1980, researcher Carolyn Roe V. Collier tied a ribbon from a baby's foot to a mobile hanging above their crib. When the baby kicked, the mobile moved. Within minutes, the baby learned the connection. It kicked more. It smiled. It had clearly formed a memory. 2 weeks later, she brought the same baby back to the same crib with the same mobile. The baby kicked immediately. It remembered. A baby that could not speak. A baby that could not walk. A baby that most people would assume had no memory at all. Remembered something 2 weeks later. So the memories are being formed. They are going in. But they are not coming out. This is where it gets genuinely strange. The question is not whether babies can form memories. They can. The question is why those memories disappear and where they go. In 2014, researchers at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto published a study that changed the way scientists think about this. They were studying neurogenesis, the process by which your brain grows new neurons. Here's what they found. In the first years of life, your brain is growing new neurons at a rate that will never happen again. Thousands of new brain cells forming every single day in the hippocampus. And here's the problem. When new neurons grow into an existing memory network, they do not just add to it, they disrupt it. They rewire the connections. They push out the old pathways to make room for new ones. Your brain was growing so fast that it was literally deleting its own memories to make space. Think about what that means. You were not failing to record your early life. You were recording it, and then your own brain was erasing it, over and over again. Every new burst of growth, wiping the slate a little cleaner. The very thing that was making you smarter was destroying your earliest memories. But that is only part of the answer, because neurogenesis slows down. By age 3, it begins to settle. By age 7, it has slowed dramatically. And yet most people still cannot remember much before age 4 or 5. Something else is also happening, and this part involves language. Paul Brock, a neuropsychologist who spent decades studying memory, noticed a pattern in the earliest memories people could reliably recall. They almost always involved language. A word someone said, a phrase that stuck, a name being called. His theory was this. Memory, as we understand it, requires a framework. A structure to hang the experience on. And for humans, that structure is largely built from language. A baby experiencing something has no words for what is happening. They cannot label it. They cannot file it under a category. They cannot connect it to anything they already know. So the experience happens. It is felt completely, and then it drifts because there is no hook to keep it in place. Now here is the part that almost no one reporting on this tells you. The memories did not necessarily disappear. They may still be in there. In 2020, Researchers at the University of Toronto conducted a study where they showed adults images of places and objects from their early childhood, things they had no conscious memory of ever seeing. Their brains responded, not consciously. They could not name the image. They could not place it. They had no sense of recognition. But deep in the brain activity that the researchers were measuring, something lit up, a flicker, a response that should not have been there if the memory was truly gone. The researchers called this the behavioral residue of lost memories. The experience left a mark, not a retrievable one, not one you can play back like a video, but a mark that shaped how your brain responds to things, a preference you cannot explain, a comfort you cannot trace, a fear that seems to have no origin. You are walking around every day shaped by experiences you cannot remember having. Think about what that means for who you are, every preference you have, every instinctive reaction, every inexplicable comfort or discomfort. Some portion of that was written in years you cannot access, by people whose faces you may not remember, in rooms you have no image of, during moments that felt everything to you and left no conscious trace. You did not choose any of it. It was written before you had the words to understand it was happening. There is one more layer to this. Children who grow up in environments with rich language tend to have earlier first memories than children who grew up in quieter environments. The language gave the memories somewhere to anchor, which means your earliest retrievable memory is not just a random snapshot. It is a measure something of how much language surrounded you, of how much someone was talking to you before you could talk back. Your first memory is a receipt, proof of someone who was there. You will never remember being born. You will never remember your first word, your first step, the first time someone held you and you felt safe. But your brain remembers, not in a way you can access, not in a way you can replay or revisit, in a way that runs underneath everything. In the instincts you cannot explain, the people you trust without reason, the places that feel familiar when they should not, the fears that have no story attached to them. You are the sum of experiences you cannot recall. And the brain that is reading these words right now was shaped almost entirely by a version of you that no longer exists and left no forwarding address.